Alrighty. So now there is no going back. I have started. Oh boy. Hello everybody. I will be going over some of the technicalities of my Ableton projects involving the Atomic Amnesia covers I've done in the past. For those of you tuning in, hello and thank you for tuning in. This is probably going to be long-winded and not very useful, especially for those of you who aren't musicians. And pardon that this thing is at 10 frames a second. My computer is potato, and I don't need to turn it into a complete vegetable, because at least it still works. Anyways, let's get started here. Not sure if you can see it or not, but here I have my MMX2, or an Amnesia 2, out, and we're just going to do a fun little breakdown of it. Now, to start off with, this track up here, unfortunately, was downscaled from a bunch of previous other effects, which I guess I could explain by hand here. Unless I can find the file. In that case, I might be able to find it. It was in this. So, best I can explain to you through the fun little WAV file here. Had a general EQ that I mastered out. Basically, what you see with these sweeps here is a synth called Surge. It had a bunch of effects, kind of atmospheric effects, and then I pitch shifted it down a bunch. And you hear a lot of guitar effects. A lot of pick scraping right up against the bridge of the guitar. If you can see a little headphone here. Looks kind of like that, and not a flash drive, but I kind of... But then I fretted the appropriate notes to make them sound as such. I used a lot of delay, reverb, and chorus effect for the majority of guitars. The bass was direct in, dry, but it did have a room reverb to it. And a lot of this was freely composed. A bunch of synthesizers. One, I tweaked a bunch of knobs for a delay part. Primarily, most of the synthesizers here were Surge, Tyrell N6, MPS, and a few Ableton synthesizers. That little space sound you hear in the background. A fun plugin called Crystal. Now, for those of you who don't know, Crystal is a very fun and unique little synthesizer you can get for free at vstforfree.com. But we've got... I mean, it has so much to it, and I don't remember which father and mother voices I used, but you eventually find that one around. But if I recall correctly, I took a high-pass filter to playing a note. High-pass filter is not named Crystal, of course. Yeah, pardon, it's taken a while to find these things. It's been a while since I've been on it. Basically, I did this effect. Cropped it off. This isn't the exact plugin, but I took that, played the sample, kept that sample, freeze the track, which centralized the audio to make it a sound sample instead of a MIDI sample now. Let me just make another audio track. Always want to grab the tail. And now, boom, your MIDI is now a track. Div. But tish. Wish I had a second screen here. Not much of a live stream if I can't communicate to everybody. But it's nice either way. Wait a second, I can use my phone for that. Let me pull up a... I don't have a charging cable, do I? Well, rip me. But now, we got our sample here playing. We can do various things like that to it. Ideas you want it to complex. Or repitch and just time stretch it out. And you get some cool synthy effects like that, all that. It's a bunch of fun stuff. Moving along. So with that sound concept in mind, a lot of the non-melodic items were applied in that fashion. We have ourselves an old-fashioned riser. Hybrid 3. That was one of the synths I used. That was one of the main workhorses that drove this project forward. And here, I basically have all the motifs I could outline from the song. It's on a piece of paper somewhere on this wall. So one of the motifs, part, like those are kind of what makes the song because you know the melody, it goes in that specific place, and then you could invert that and make that a whole new phrase, or treat this like a classical piece and write everything out, but I didn't. I just kind of right here and kept the form. And that was one take I am proud of. For those of you who don't know, I also played that after 13 attempts and made a little teaser video before, somewhere in December. It was like 6 months ago. And there is a cool timbre with a slightly dead strings. So you've got the absolute brand new slap out of the package strings, but then if you have Elixir Polyweb strings and they do their thing, you let them sit for about 3 months. They get into that, I don't know, you'd say, they start to tone deprive slightly, Or it's like if you have a bunch of strings and like you've eaten chicken wings before playing, and then you get them all greased up and they start like immediately corroding from the inside out. There's like a 15-minute time span where they sound absolutely amazing because they're not bright tinny in your ears, but they're also not mellow dead like boiled bass strings. But that's beside the point. Hello, for concurrent viewers. Welcome to the live stream. You'll be seeing that every now and again if I check the thing. Anyways, moving along. Okay, I realized something. I played a lick from Ewan Dobson there. So... and that was played with a eighth thing delay. For those of you who don't know Ewan Dobson, I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong. I'm sorry. Also, love your YouTube videos. There's a song he played where he had a little hat in his head. It was called Time 2. And it had a really nice eighth note delay, and the song was in E minor, but that quote is... It's played but the eighth delay makes it sound so and all that kind of thing. And it's like it's coincidental I quoted that. But that's also to keep in mind. Everything you listen to, you may one day quote if you've listened to it too many times. But it's all fun and games here. Here is a fun part. The next part after this little foodly bit, which just involves a bunch of finger tapping and like swells, which is fun. And you're just sitting in the sky going... Absolutely no rhyme or reason to the finger tapping and the trills, but you can hear a main motif in the background, which kind of holds firm to this little section. And then this section coming up, my personal favorite, what's the time signature? Thanks to you, Sir Timon, anyway. Glad you enjoy them. Alright, now we finally get to some different stuff around here. Day 3 synths. Let's go here what this guy has to do. Alright, so Amsynth. This little guy is a really good bass synthesizer. It will give you some beefy fundamentals if what you normally play into the mix doesn't sound that great. Amsynth is... let me unfreeze here real quick. It's one of the synths that really utilizes the subwoofer of your device. Or there is a series of overtones that just work with the instrument. I love it to death. Like... let me put this on. It's so beefy there. And I'm sorry for your ears if that hurts. For those of you listening through cell phones, basically the speaker's going at a very slow pace. And like you could stack octaves and stuff and make something sound really beefy. But you have to get the waves in sync for it to like really punch out. But if you get them too far in sync and you have all those synths stacked on top of each other loud, you're going to end up with a bunch of distortion and clipping because all playing at the same time, it amplifies on itself. And if you have everything together, it's kind of like a bunch of kids on a trampoline, and they just launch the light small kid up and stuff. But that added some fundamental stuff that was needed. Oh, I might have just okay, so it's still the cool little synthesizer that it needs to be. Alright, that concludes my favorite part of the mix of number 2. This little spot here represents a bunch of Trombone Multiphonics. And what multiphonics are is where you play a note, you buzz a tone, and then out comes another note with your voice. And the notes I picked were random. There was no rhyme or reason. I just said, I wanted chords and multiphonics to do this one. And so it sounds something like... very unconventional sounds, but like I'm going, ooh, and then playing... which is really tough to do on a brass instrument, mind you. I've been working at it for 3 or 4 years now, and it's somewhat consistent. It's not every time, but playing with fourths and fifths, and then like stacking everything else, like you have a piano in front of you, just like slamming on chords and stuff. It's nice and stuff. Glad you're hyped, man. I'm sorry I can't get back to you like instantly and stuff. So go through multiphonics. More knob tweaking with the delay effects. Unfortunately, I don't have it on me here because being a couple hundred tracks is too ambitious for this computer. Returning motif. Syndicate. This is still Atomic Amnesia. And this little hit here. Just this is where I finally started orchestrating stuff out, and I was like, I need big chords here. Kind of make it sound royalistic, like kind of like my Pentatonics cover. It had a lot of big chords, or my Gra 2 cover. It had a lot of big chords and just to it. And needed meat and girth to it. So I had a lot of fifths and octaves. And it was a halftime feel, and just, it hit. And finally, we got some synthesizers, we got some trombone stuff. Righty. Day 3, I think that meant it was the 3rd day I worked on it. And had some bunch of stuff out. So let's listen to this alone. As per the intended point of the live stream, to listen to the innards of this stuff. Good old hybrid. Saved my bacon. This little guy especially. Because it was all going about, it was broad chords, but I was like, there needs to be something going on in there. Oh, I know. Arpeggiators. Arpeggiators work so well with this thing. Alright, I'll pop these and just these two. Fun E minor with a little 9 added in there to make things sound crunchy and stuff. My phone's at 1%. Oh, hey Seth, how you doing? Glad you could stop by and all that jazz. Hello, Jared. Thank y'all for coming by. Good friends of mine, good friends in person and stuff. So if you're wanting to text me, my phone's probably about to die in the next 5 minutes. So forgive that. We've got some sus chords underneath pads and stuff. Hybrid's such a great synthesizer. You'll find it on sale often on holidays and stuff. Alright. I'm willing to bet that is a bass. Oh yeah. As I say, the amp synth, it reinforces some low ends. If you're listening to a decent sound system or with headphones, buy a compressor before you wear headphones, because there's no telling what's going to lurch out with this stuff. But that's almost an E. From what I could best tell, playing an E, I'm like, that might be it. But that adds fundamental and reinforcement to the real low end to like make it hit you. And oftentimes you have to hit the low end stuff before. Actually, that's a fallacy. So they say you have to have the low end hit before the high end because high end travels faster than low end. When it's directly from your speaker system, that really doesn't apply because the speaker's right there. It's going to hit you in about 0.27 milliseconds for how it goes by and stuff. Alright, enough with the fart sound. Alright, so these two square wave things, they accompanied each other. Kind of one through, and then one was adding texture on top, and then after that handed off, and then it handed off again. It's kind of like a to and fro take, which is really nice. Alrighty, guy underneath. Me, I love psychedelic sounds. Anything that's non-tonal and stuff, which you'll know from my third cover. Non-tonal was the name of the game. And that was the little synthesizers for this little part. Let's see if I can get rid of all my solos. That's kind of the hit. That little was a pick scrape with the guitar. I used a quarter to pick scrape the guitar. Rest in peace, the plastic coating of the polyweb strings. They were doing their thing. I had the Valhalla Supermassive on the snare to add a bit more. And as you hear on those, they were a custom wood block I recorded. But I pitch shifted them for each hit because I was like, I don't like hearing just one wood block. I want to hear more than one. Dun, 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 dun. And from there, you see on the top corner here, the time signature became 17-1-16. Oh, it was 16. But it was basically dun 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 dun. It's well, actually it's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, it's 17, so 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 3 groups of 3, 2 groups of 4, which really just made it a funkier swing of the sorts. I lost my train of thought there for a second. And a lot of automation went into that. I turned the mix knobs to 0 on my reverb, or I like ducked everything out as that fell. And it's a really... it just made you feel like you were going into another room. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, triple, triple, 1, 2, 3, 4, triple, triple. And it was really just, But this was only the... It just grooves differently because it's not 4/4. It feels, instead of swung, it feels swang. No. That's swang. That's a great term. But because, you know, I'm a white boy without rhythm, I cropped these hardcore to get them, like, somewhat in time. Because I just did not have the chops at the time. Also had a little bit of Protoverb. It's a nice little free plugin by Yuhi. I probably pronounced that wrong too, but like on its own, it feels like, oh, I'm rushing, no, I'm dragging. Oh, I'm rushing, oh, I'm dragging. Kind of like a concept I'm trying to pursue of a sawtooth time signature. So you jump to a certain amount, and then it slows down as you hit, and then it jumps back up and slows down again, and then it jumps back up and slows down again. Essentially, it makes you want to do a push-pull type of thing, but instead, this is more of a metric push-pull. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of thing. Alright, and this was, I had a lot of tonic in this, and I was like, it sounds okay orchestrated, but I want more chord. So, I had Hybrid back me up. And if I recall, the volume was automated or something. Alright, and all those trombones, I believe, were real. Golly, it was tough getting those lower notes to speak out of the bass trombone. Thank you, Dr. Waller, for giving me the ability to access untold ranges of the horn. Now let's get to the little whole note section parts and just hear these for themselves. Very hard pan, but the trio there, left, right, and center. I couldn't hold that for long because I'd already used my breath on the C. But yeah, just... Like that was all my tank had at the time. Ready. And of course I had to use the amp synth just for that which it really didn't need it. Now that I look back on it. Maybe I had it like an octave lower before and all that stuff, but it was nice. And now I hear nothing. I'm afraid. I'm no longer afraid. Yes, and the famous lick we heard from before. Yep, I did one an octave down and one an octave up. Don't know why I'd panned it that way. I think that was just a oopsie on my part. Alright. There's a lot of things I can't see that y'all need to see. But unfortunately my screen is very small. There we go. Now I can start seeing the stuff. And Phasor is a really nice FreeBSD plugin. Added some character to this. Freeze her real quick. Yeah, Phasor added a lot of character to this synthesizer part. Just for instance. It sounds okay. And it was a sequencer. It had something with like a really low bass for in it. I didn't understand how this one was made. I was just like, I like the sound of this. E minor, E minor 9 sus 2, or E minor sus 2. And then the phaser just adds a little bit of kind of like waves of the ocean. And you're just a buoy. And it just like, it's kind of adjusting like that. Get phaser. It's free. VSTforfree.com. Phaser. Oh yeah. This is a very very variable synth. Depending on your octave. I think I had this at a really high octave, maybe? Well, we're gonna find out here. Because I know in like each octave that there had a unique timbre to it. So this is super low. Just sounds like pebbles on the sand or something. So it's like, if you add it all together or whatever. Sounds like another octave up. And now this sounds kind of like a TR-808. And also that phaser just gives a bit more swoosh to it. Because otherwise it sounds like some sort of 8-bit synth something. Like to go up another octave. Another octave up. Another octave up. Another octave up. It almost becomes melodical, and if you have it at a low enough volume, or if you hold it out enough, it becomes chords, versus just if you hit this here. Sounds like a bunch of metallic birds, maybe. It's to the creativists to go through with that. Then we got this guy. Bass Murda is good for a really hard kick. Like, that is the only purpose I have found with this synthesizer. Like, if you want something to kill, you want something to murder, destroy, disintegrate, exterminate, this thing kind of does its job. Well, let me just... But what's funny is you go through, like, the things or whatever. Let's see. Where do we go to the next setting on this? As you can tell, I don't use this a lot. I've only known it for one thing. Kicks. Oh, there we are. So, remember this 03 DC Basic Bass Drum 1. You just... The farther you go into this, and there's like 200 more bass drums, it just gets grittier, dirtier, more destroyer. And all that jazz. And it's nice, it's nice. Overall, it's a nice little... So I need to go back to 03. Okay. Okay, that sounds about right. Don't quite remember the timbre and synth and stuff. Okay, there was a hybrid under that. Good riser. And then counter melody to the riser, which gives you go, kind of crosses between itself, and it's for a more impactful feeling if you are into the EDM stuff these days. And, you know, it creates a nice passage into another segment of something you don't have an answer for. Eventually, you get all those things right. Alright, and this is an interesting little bit. Completely free of form, completely free of time. I was just like, let's kind of make a melodette ending here. very ballad-like, but I didn't quite remember what I was going for on this. The majority of people just stopped listening after this, so I wouldn't be surprised if it just... Oh. But everything was over a pedal E, which was playing through... Oh, I had Iris at that time. I had just gotten Iris. Iris is a really nice synthesizer. I mean, it is burden tax heavy. I have 3 of these on my track, and it will completely just consume my computer's CPU. There's a lot to it that I just need to do a tutorial video on that one day. But nice old low E, atmospheric junk here. You probably didn't hear that in the final mix of it, but let's just get these trombones in one channel here for my sake of sanity. Key of E major, and then I was like, augment it. And then A major 7, F sharp minor, E major with a B, and then F sharp, or sorry, G sharp. So it'd be like E major, first inversion, and then B, E. And then the minor mode, or Aeolian, of E, just for a textural shift, because we've been in E for 2 whole songs now. Might as well, change something up. And then a cadential 4-5-1 coming up. And these 2 notes here, the last stuff you hear, Trombone Multiphonics. Basically, if you listen to these 2. So, that first one on the bottom goes, but then I sing it, and then it creates this very turbulent thing because the interval between those 2 notes are so close together. Very tough to do because I don't have my partials to keep me in line, but it creates this very part. But then I have another horn play a 5th above that. Whoa. And I play something with a 5th above that. Oh, that top note is I simply play an E, but then I sing a B. So. And E major chord with the use of multiphonics, which is all fun and dandy. Ha. That's a pun because my name's Dan. Dandy. Copyright striking me because I played Phil Collins. Okay. Now, if that actually happened, that's hilarious. But anyways, let's go to the second one. Oh yeah, Mark 4 and 5, if you didn't see that there. It's on the way. It's on the way doing its thing. And thank you everybody for liking the video thus far. I'm not sure about a lot of things. Uh-oh, this don't look like it. Son, this definitely don't look like... Okay, hold up. Or did I just name it the wrong one and abandon that specific project? That don't look like it either. Maybe I put it as 5? So 3 and 4 failed. Alright. Pinwheel of Death. Computer smoking at a nice 92 degrees centigrade. Just about hot enough to fry your eggs on. Well, that goes. Yeah. Welcome to the thing while it cooks. Alright, she's cooking. I should have at least half of the tracks on here. Okay, I intended for there to be bagpipes in this. Roland, I wanted bagpipes in this, but that's okay. It was short notice and you didn't have the time, and then I was going to have to do all the transposition stuff for it. But let's get started with this one. Now this I have a lot more, at least what looks like going on. I also prematurely installed Logic Pro and used some of the MIDI synth stuff for flute, clarinet, and oboe or something. Alright. And I was going for ye olden Atomic Amnesia. Just to go through some of the synthesizers and stuff, there's this little handpan thing called the APC. Basically, Jared, if you're still here, that little drum where you you can hit the things or whatever. I said where you can hit the things or whatever. Well, there's this disappointing. There we go. But, you know, it's all 12 tones and stuff, which is really cool. Or you can just... And there's 2 type of ringing to it. You can keep it to the whatever tuning system, or you can do it yourself. There's all these fun parameters you can play with, and it's got its own presets. Overall, sounds amazing to me. Anyways. Alright, Mitchell's Harpsichord. A fun little Ableton plugin I recommend getting. It's a nice harpsichord sound. There's a whole story behind the harpsichord and recording it, but it was a real harpsichord at the time. Still is probably a harpsichord. But person, I guess, done repairs on it, and just just for the sampling and stuff. It's got its own noises you can put to it, certain string mute, and it's... I think I put a compressor on there just for dynamic's sake, because harpsichords don't have dynamics. And so to make the harpsichord have proper dynamics within this piece of music is improper, because they only have one way, and they would probably bleed out all the other instruments and stuff. Maybe if you put the harpsichord on the other side of a room, you could then temper how loud it's supposed to be appropriately. But the power of mixing makes the harpsichord a dynamical instrument. I love it that way. Alrighty. And I had more chords and stuff. All played by hand by me, and it was fun. Now for the woodwind section. I think it was trio? Nope, quartet. Yeah, woodwind quartet here. I voiced it to feel... Okay, it was a trio. I think it was voiced clarinet, bass clarinet, because I know I have a concert C somewhere in there. No? Or did I appropriately voice it for clarinet and would have been able to record this on a real instrument? Had a lot of reverb effects on it. I was very happy to use reverb wherever possible, such as the A section. And the reverb I used, was simple Ableton stock reverb. Okay, that was intended my bass clarinet stuff. And I used a lot of pitch bend to make it seem like it was almost real, because I know you can do that on a clarinet, and it sounds absolutely smooth. But for this instance, it sounded too smooth, and it didn't sound analogous. Analogous? It didn't sound like a real instrument, though it sounded pretty dang close. I was impressed with that. Oh yeah! I'm gonna butcher this name. Sonatina Orchestra. Percussion stuff. Disconnected. Okay. We're back with it. Sweet. Got a little bit of tambourine in the distance, referencing that one Christmas song. As done by Kliksphilip, I forget. It was on that. I forget which video game it was. Forgive me on that. Oh yeah! I absolutely love my trusty Alvarez guitar for playing notes below standard E. As you know, Seth, I am a diehard fan of drop tuning. But, I mean, so much so that I tune acoustic guitars to standard D from now on. But then I tuned that to drop C, and now it sounds amazing. And that timbre basically doubled the harpsichord, I believe. And as you can tell, I have horrible timing, because you can hear the harpsichord and the guitar flamming. But I argued that it sounded a bit more realistic having somebody play somewhat out of time, because it was presumed that music didn't sound as good in the medieval times. I'm willing to beg and differ that music was played much better in the 1800s than today, because they cared so much about just intonation and temperament, even though they didn't have the technology of all that stuff. Anyways, moving along. Ha ha ha. Was intended to be a bagpipe sound, but was not a bagpipe sound. I was not ready for that. Okay. It's gonna be a night. Oh yeah, that was the intended bagpipe sound I was gonna have a sample from. Sounds pretty un-bagpipey, but that's okay. And I've got some really overtoned timbre here. Not overtoned timbre, it was a piano sound. But it's some really nice texture chords involving 9s, 11s, 13s. And I had my guitar as the bass intended. Oh, that was just strumming chords. I'm wrong again. And Valhalla Supermassive on the middle channel, I believe, was over to... No, it wasn't. I don't know what I'm doing here. There we go. That's our guy here. Added so much on the sides. That was just... Okay, they were fed directly into it. We're not going to get any of the just wash. But help me remember this. 19.1. Basically that, but in a very subtle way. Remember Valhalla Supermassive. It is a nice, free VST. You gotta go to their website though. So find whoever Valhalla Supermassive is. Or I'll put a post edit on this stuff here. Go back. Right. Oh, that's why I wasn't able to hear just the... And I had two guitars. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Playing in 5/8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. A very nonchalant way of building up a type of tension that's not really tension, but it is a form of driving rhythm, I guess is the accusation with that. Couldn't quite remember if I had different chords throughout that little bar, but we could double check. What was doing a sus? Bad news. There's supposed to be a kick drum there. We're missing a few parts. We're missing a few parts. I am depressed with that. Not soloing any tracks. Well, that sucks. I must have done the drums on a different track and just like layered them. One of my favorite, I have a lot of favorites these days, Dext. It is an FM synthesizer, just like that, not exactly like the Yamaha V50, but it's got that specific texture to it. Tinny 1990s video games, like Comic Zone. And I just basically had a synthesizer solely feature of that instrument. Ah, man. I think the worst part is you're not going to be able to hear the Latin stuff of this, unless I muted it. There's some of it. This must be a different take. Because I'm missing a whole second half of this. But good old white boy Latin percussion. So, just to go over some of the sounds. That sound was basically me going... Well, like I had a sock on the end of this, but... It was a really nice, like, driving kick rhythm stuff. There's this guy. I had a 147 clave going. So, you can't see the camera. So I had basically knock on a 7, but I had kind of used a bit of my bone of the wrist to hit that. Rest in peace, arthritis and carpal tunnel. And if I recall, that is a shaker, of which consists of whatever beads, tuned slightly lower, or pitch shifted lower, held very tightly, so it's a Bead Treasures Czech class beads. And it sounds like that. That's what it... Me clapping. More clapping. Ah, yes, this is an interesting kit. I made it with a bunch of pots, pans, rice, kitchen utensils and stuff. Beating sticks together. This little interesting. I'm sorry, percussionists, I do not know the proper name of this device, but I took 2 plastic spoons and a pencil, tied a rubber band around it, and then I hit the 2 together between my hand and an object. So basically, it was doing this to hit the plastic on itself and make that timbre. And it was like all that jazz. And there's 3 or 4 takes. I enjoy that solo to the end of time. 3 Kliksphilip. And I need some, actually, this little Latin segment was inspired by the soundtrack of Ace Combat Zero. For those of you who don't know Ace Combat Zero, it's a pretty slapping game. I never finished it. I need to finish it one day. I need to buy the game and buy a PS2 and do that, but I don't have time for that, so I can just watch the playthroughs instead at some point. But, like, the whatever, like, super whatever missions, I said, I need something sounding like grungy, Latin-y, fast-paced. Ace Combat Zero soundtrack was, like, what I referenced these sounds to. I couldn't settle with just, distorted guitar, because, like, distorted guitar doesn't sound that very Latin-y. So, I had to have acoustic guitar texturing the distortion to make it sound a bit more analog, while still sounding raunchy and just aggressive. Because that's one of my favorite type of things to do, is have raunch and aggressiveness. All that. I will call the 1800s medieval at this point. However, that is not correct. My music history teacher will be very displeased to know that I called the 1800s medieval. I'm sorry, but ye olden memes had to come from somewhere. Do I have any around here? So that's half the project. I wonder where the other half is. Right there. And I wonder what this is. If this is the other half, or like the first half of 3 that I didn't get to cover. No? Okay. So we don't get the first half of 3 this time. No, the first half of 2. Oh, my mind's having a stork. Almost promising. Let's just let that cook. Well, he ain't responding for at least a minute. So while that goes, yeah. How are y'all doing today? Guess we'll wait while my computer decides to restart and get that going. And as you can see, the device is cooking at a fair 93 centigrade. Up. We got a thing going. We got a bunch of squares. Alrighty. And this here is why it took forever. Because I was like, this computer ain't going to be able to handle any more of this stuff. So, I use Ozone 8 for the final mastering effects. However, I did not master it. I simply rose its loudness, because if you master a project before you put it into another project and then master it post that, you technically get just, like, super mastering. Well, I guess I did. Never mind. You get, like, more than what you bargained for intended mastering of said item. Alright, now we get to go through all the synthesizers from 3 again. And hopefully I can find number 5. Unless... This is the second half to 5. No. This is the second half of the third... No. Or am I back where I started? I feel like I'm back where I'm... Did I backtrace this? Okay, this is the other synthy portions and stuff. Okay, that was the old Amnesia. That was the track you saw from everything else. With the yield and stuff. That came back, and this became the final project. Or did I make a track and simply copy-paste this? One of the two. This is the other half of number 3. Did I mention number 2 at some point? I don't know. I'm a confused old man, given the scenario. Alright. So for Christmas, I got a Arturia MK2 88 key something another guy. And it came with Analog Labs, and that was one of the greatest dang things ever. Just absolutely love it. This little synth here, it either came from Analog Labs or it came from Iris, and that took about half my CPU, so I was like, let's export this as a WAV file, because there's no way this thing will be able to handle this. So that's likely between 5 and 15 tracks within itself. Alright, and we got some rain ambience, because ambience is nice. Oh, also, a tribute to Roland, sounding like a airplane engine revving up, flying off in the distance. Alright, more Analog Labs, more hybrid. Some very nice synthesizer ambiences. One sounds like an alarm going off. And there's a synthesizer just kind of trailing behind him, making it. And it's like, it's building. It's building into this soon-to-be something, but it's a very slow build that probably everybody missed, including me, on the final mix and stuff. And I've got pad of E minor just coming in going, patting that face. That's often the face I've made when I was making this. It was nice. And there was just a lot of... I enjoyed textures everywhere. Now, a lot of you are wondering what that was. I am too. This here. A lot of harmonics with the bass. My good old, recently new rendition to the family, at least to my music friends. It is my Fender Squier P bass. No modifications to it. Yep, and then you'd hear the yield and Philip stuff. And we've got this little synth here, making a lot of ambient background noise. And it's very supportive in the background, only to add texture. Because if you hear one, like, loop of a sample, it sounds boring as hell. But when you add, like, texture behind it like this, it gives life to it. It makes something feel like something belongs and is going somewhere. A lot of what I like about this kind of stuff. Because otherwise... Oh, and finally, you get a motif that is in reference to the song I'm covering, and what is to come. Yes, Crystal, a very ambient synth. Supposed to represent tinnitus. Kind of just, it rings there. And somehow it supports the alarm. I somehow got that synced up. Let me get my... No, I didn't get them synced up. It's just another type of ping and pong. Kind of in the air. And it's one note, too. The beauty of, not hybrid. The beauty of Crystal is... Sorry. It's just a flow of itself into something just great. Okay, we got a synth here. Oh yeah! Not a theremin, but a lot of portamento. And that's your motif. Da 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 da. And then I just like repeat the motif, going through another octave. And we've got all these unaccounted for synths that go on later in the piece. Now let me get out of the solo track of everybody. Go through the listening for that. So essentially, my tinnitus has resulted from the justly intonated thirds of in-tune notes. So, like when you hear a high-string E go off, there's actually going on, like, you know, the overtone series goes through every note. I have apparently played guitar long enough, that I have notes from playing open-strum guitar that some of those notes have resonated in my head. Also combined the absolutely sadistic factor of I loved tuning 20 cents down from A equals 440, and that was not intended to be a weed reference, but that's funny. I've been doing that since I was 6. And then you end up with kind of like the whine of my computer just constantly going. And it's okay. You deal with it. You learn to say that it is part of the static of the air that you breathe and deal with. Maybe if I go to Mars, I'm going to hear a different set of overtones. Or maybe I'm going to go completely deaf because space equipment is loud and so are the engines. Who knows? I'm not planning on going to Mars in my lifetime. Maybe when I'm dead and I'm a flying ghost, but, you know, one can only dream, right? Here comes some synthesizers. That was depressing. I expected a lot more. There we go. More washed synths. My favorite part of this, just like in Amnesia 2, there is a part where there wasn't a time signature allocated for everything. The drum kit is essentially random. I just absolutely love that. Surge had some great stuff. Backed up by a Valhalla Supermassive, it just made it feel so flowy. Let me just solo that. I mean, versus. Which is cool in itself, but I didn't want a Windows startup theme. I wanted this thing to chant for miles. But that's only one synthesizer here. Let's go. Let's see this thing here. Fun ambient noises, I love it. Automated volume, so everything sounded a bit different as it was progressing. Very tense build up. Then more high notes to signify, hey, I'm building up progressiveness. And of course the amp synth. And this sounds like really lame on its own texture here, so. I mean, it's a grounding texture, as I'd like to put it. Alright, let's just add a few more things. Alright. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's with the little chicken clap. 1, 2, 1, 2. But this little figure here is in 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then, you know, the polyrhythm goes. Doesn't quite fit together. Let's add another percussion instrument. So now you've got a pulse. It's together. It's together at least by that duration of whatever the note is. That duration of whatever the note is. That's a great term to coin. And up here I've got probably more ambience. I got a lot of hi-hats. And let's just take these guys over here off. That's where the kick drum I was missing from before. Always layer your drums. It sounds so much better that way. I promise. Alright. Absolutely. I love the chorus effect on a bass. And then I doubled it. So I recorded direct in, and I had a microphone hooked up to my TKO 65. So essentially, you've got 2 timbres within one recording. Probably like 2 or 3 milliseconds off. But essentially both sound like in their own unique habitat. And then I recorded a second take, reversed left and right. Yep. Utility swap. And so left channel of my first recording went, and then right channel of my second recording, they had the same sonic speaker and the same sonic input for each side, made it sound fuller. I probably could have went a step further by putting center, you know, like putting it off, but I mean, it already sounds thick. And then I add the little bass, the amp synth stuff, and suddenly you just added a C to that thick. And then combine that with the driving rhythm consistent with your eighth notes and stuff that isn't in time with it, but is in time with it, and you got yourself a pretty freaking bomb little progression that I don't know how I'll ever make again. I probably won't make this again. I mean, it's so itself, if that makes sense. And there was a little modulation there. So it was like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then I started on a specific eighth note and said, I've got to stop there. I don't care if I can or can't play it. I played the basses this way. I've got to make everything follow that, because I absolutely love this ending chord. Playing chords on a bass is so freaking satisfying. I don't care who or what you are. Alright. And then I tried to go for a, I don't know, country vibe. Thinking this is kind of Texas. Probably the wrong kind of Texas. And then I had that Dext synthesizer feature. But I had some Surge in the background. That could be... Is that Danny Phantom? Is that a quote from Danny Phantom? I watched too much Danny Phantom as a child. I mean, boom. There you go. Oh, man. Okay, so... But, layering your kits. So, this one sounds okay. This one sounds okay on its own. The bass is kind of there. The snare has a good taper to it, but isn't that strong. This kick is really good. The snare bites. And then you get the good bite with the good taper. And something has a decent timbre to it now. Because if you only have one kit, if it's not the TR-808, nobody's gonna like it for some dumb reason. So you've got to like layer on top of like be very meticulous with your drums. And like try to unquantize them just a slight bit so they're flamming about. I don't know if I did it with these, voice crack, but yep. And we added a little bit of this is one of our Kliksphilip. And it sounds like there's a conga in there. No, I'm not very cultured with percussion. I'm sorry. I need to be, because I'm playing for a Latin wedding band and stuff, and that'll come with time. It grooves so well with the other parts. Grooves so well with the other parts. And if I recall, this part here is really fun too. I didn't quite know how to get out of my really great Latin groove. There he is. So, we did our thing, I take out some of the tracks, but I'm just like, I want to keep this. And for those of you with perfect pitch, I don't have it anymore, but I'm like pseudo-perfect. I slowly tune it down. If you know where E is at, let me just prove to you where that's at here. This is probably somewhat out of tune, but it'll suffice for anything. So, let me just keep playing E while you hear this. And now it's just getting out of tune. Why is it getting out of tune? Wait, no. It's still in tune. It's all so flat now. Well, what happened before that? I mean, it was kind of, you know... It's kind of there. I'm not tuning it. It's just there. very nice modulation to E half flat major. No, E flat and a half major, because it's going down. All that jump. And I had to manually pitch shift everything down to match as best I could. And it's all, you know, relative and subjective based on the, you know, VSTs and stuff, because for some reason, nobody likes to have a standard tuning system. Velvet will tune via cents and hertz. Surge will tune via decimal points. Ableton Suite will do that, but Ableton Standard says, nah, bruh, pay the full price. And I'm like, no! Also, these guys, full buckets, make a bunch of nice synths. You need to get them. Full buckets. Full buckets. You can find them on vstforfree.com. Don't delay. Buy today. I probably should have put the check marks. Yes, this is sponsored by VST for free, because I have, like, specifically spoke of them so many times. But they don't pay me. They paid me by giving me their cents. And all that stuff. Tunefish is a nice synth. Ah, yes. The reference of going low in CSGO. If you can recognize that. Not the synth, because I know he made his in Fruity Loops, but I tried as best as I could. I spent like 3 hours trying to go, what is that dang synth? I know it's a dotted eighth rhythm, and I know it's a low E, but I was just like, going low in CSGO? My E is lower than his. Nice little bass synth feature. Right, Analog Labs. Really nice thing. Had an interesting looking computer synth. You boys are probably just enjoying these free little samples here. Oh no, don't crash on me. Oh, the DX7. Nice. Chip sound. What's the guy? Very nice kind of thing. Ending on minor 9's nice. Now, why are you all grayed out? You're not supposed to be grayed out. You're supposed to be here and playing like the rest of them. Ah, that's why they're solid. There we go. And then I've got this nice pad synth at the end. Very polychord, just like the first and second endings. Trebly high. Mid-high. Body. Fundamentals. Ah. Just so there. It's all so there. What am I gonna do for this next one? I'm gonna systematically top this off with 100 extra, you know, channels and stuff. I mean, this is 2 separate projects I had to smash together because my computer just cannot handle all the junk. Kill all these Tarzan reasons. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I'm gonna pull up my OBS thing and have everybody start flying around. Okay, I can't get this symmetrical. Oh well. Anyways, this is a fun little conclusion to the Ableton session review of my Amnesia covers. I hope you learned a bunch of fun things about tech, musical stuff, and the junk. I don't know what else to say. Just enjoy the rest of your night. You didn't have to be here, but I appreciate it. But for if you ever want to go back and ask a bunch of questions for my next fun live stream, you know, this is a thing I'm just practicing because it's a good skill to know how to live stream, watch your balances, check for systems and stuff, and do all that's good and necessary. So this is me signing off. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in future videos and the liking. Take care. I hit stop streaming. That didn't work now. Well, here's an awkward stare until my computer starts responding again. Do not eat the microphone. Do not eat the microphone.